let's now proceed to the next technical session. So for this session, I'd like to ask a very quick question. So kanina nakita natin yung mga LGU na may approved CNUP at yung mga LGU na ongoing sa pag-draft na kanilang CNUP. The question is, once the CNUP is approved, does the work end there? Parang ayan na, nasubmit mo na yung CNUP. What's next? Siyempre, hindi pa tapos ang work after mag-submit at ma-approve ang CNUP. Preparing a CNUP is already a major milestone. But it's only one part of the planning process. The next equally important step is ensuring that the plan is translated into actual developments through effective regulation and implementation. And that's exactly what our next session is all about. So, to guide us through the next important discussion, may we warmly welcome our speaker from the Housing and Real Estate Development Regulation Division, OIC Chief, Engineer Christian Angelo G. Manuel. A warm round of applause, everyone.
Good afternoon po sa lahat. Kamusta po tayo? Okay naman po. Masarap na yung lunch kanina. Yes. So, yung warm-up, yung icebreaker, nagising naman po ba tayo? Yes. Ayan. So, anyway, for this afternoon, yung i-discuss po namin is more on sa real estate development regulation. Ayan. So, ito, short lang naman. Pero as you can see sa screen, this is part of Metro Manila. Sino po dito yung, sa tingin nyo, saan part yan? Anong cities yung nakikita natin dito? Anong cities po kaya? Parang may isa doon si Ma'am. Sige, Ma'am. Sa tingin nyo, saan?
Makati, ito yung area na namin at the BGC.
Ayan. Ayan, tama. So actually naman, kapag meron tayong mapa ng Metro Manila, tapos meron tayong mga group or cluster of buildings. Ano ba yung mga group or clusters of buildings sa NCR? Kadalasan, it's either yung Makati CBD, BGC, Ortigas, Binondo area, so limited lang. So dito, so itong ito, this is yung BGC, sa JCT. Ito sa lower left, ito yung ating Makati CBD, ito yung ating Ortigas area. Kasi ito yung Rockwell. Ayan. So, yan po yung ating portion. So, ito naman po. Ito, mas madali. Sa city kaya ito. Pang anong cities yung nakikita natin. So, again, yung cluster of buildings. Itong residential area, anong city kaya ito? Mandaluyong. So, ito is yung Rockwell. Ito yung Ortigas. Ayan. So, based dito sa dalawa, as you can see, yung sa real estate, may nakita tayong pattern because may mga areas na concentrated yung real estate. Now, bakit concentrated yung mga buildings dyan sa mga portions na yan? Ano ba yung malaking factor kung bakit maraming buildings sa Makati CBD, sa BGC, sa Ortigas, sa Rockwell, bakit doon nagto-cluster yung mga buildings natin? Ano ba yung diniscuss kanina umaga? Anong topic? Yung land use sa zoning. Ayan, so yun po yung major factor kung bakit may mga clustering of developments na nangyayari. Particularly in the case of Metro Manila. So ito, introduce ko lang yung real estate projects. So one of the divisions in Vision NCR is yung ating Housing and Real Estate Development Regulation Division. So makahaba lang po talaga yung names ng division namin. Let's call this division HRED. So particularly about real estate development regulation. When we say real estate projects, generally, ito yung mga projects na subject sa regulatory jurisdiction of the department. And itong real estate projects, malawak po sila. So of course, it involves subdivisions and condominiums. And sa dalawang yan, may mga subcategories pa. We have yung residential subdivisions, residential condominiums, commercial subdivisions, commercial condominiums, and so on. Kasama din dito yung mga townhouses, memorial parks, cemeteries, and columbaria, or yung mga columbariums natin, and others. Ayan, so yun po yung mga real estate projects na ina-apply with the department. And yun nga, this is a sample zoning map. So I think na-discuss kanina yung about sa zoning ordinance. May comprehensive discussion daw kanina about sa zoning and land use. Kapag red, anong zone yung red na color? Commercial. Yung yellow, residential. So, pag green, pwede ba yung mga buildings, high-story buildings sa green? Hindi. So, ayan. So, sa zoning map, dito pa lang, na-envision na natin kung ano yung development na mangyayari sa ating area. So, yun nga, sa case sa ating mga cities, kadalasan, yung mga cluster buildings ay nasa anong kulay nilalagay. Yung mga buildings, sa kulay nilalagay. Sa red, sa commercial. Particularly, C3. Minsan may mga C4 sa ibang LGUs. Ayan, so basically, kung i-straight to the point natin, yung real estate development regulation, it heavily relies dun sa ating land use planning sa ating zoning map. Now, if we really want to regulate yung ating development ng real estate, dapat properly updated, properly reflected doon sa ating mga zoning maps and zoning ordinances. Ayan po. So, I think proceed na sa next part. Ayan, pero before we can proceed, kindly scan this QR code kapag may mga questions, clarifications, suggestions, or reactions po tayo. Ayan, so pwede po natin scan or picturean kung gusto natin balikan dito. Ayan, so kung may mga questions po tayo, i-input na lang muna natin and maybe we can raise it later. So, next, proceed na po tayo dun sa subdivision of condominium development, standards, permits, and compliance monitoring. So before we start ito, siguro quick question ko lang, bakit ba necessary yung mga development standards? Nasaan po yung representatives natin from Taguig? Taguig? Andito pa po kasi ka. Taguig? Taguig. Kung tatanungin kayo ba, bakit kaya necessary yung mga development standards? So ano ba yung may isasagot natin kung bakit necessary yung development standard? Yeah, so para ma-regulate yung mga projects. Meron po ba tayong representative from Pasay? Ayun, si Sir. Kayo, Sir. Kung tatanungin, bakit ba necessary yung mga development standards?
Para mas maging maayos yung development kasi magiging magulo siya pag wala tayong sinusunod na development standards. Diba, guys, sa Pasay, medyo maliit ang area namin. Alam naman po rin maliit ang hindi na tayo magkaroon ano, di ba, na magandang chance to develop the city.
Ayan, so para hindi magulo, basically, yung ating city. Ayan, so I think alam naman natin lahat kung bakit necessary itong development standards. I think we get the point. Pero, to further reinforce the point, magpapakita na lang po ako ng mga pictures. Ito, this is a building abroad sa Nairobi, sa Africa. So what happened here is, yung building approved siya for a certain number of floors, I think 12 floors if I'm not mistaken. Pero yung ginawa is, pinush ng developer, tinaasan pa niya. Nagdagdag siya ng I think 2 more floors. And yung naging effect doon, yung foundation kasi is designed for a 12-story building, nagdagdag siya, bumigan, mas nagdagdagan yung loads, nagtagak siya. So kaya necessary yung development standards. Yung hindi yan ba yung development standards din applies sa foundation sa actual. Ito baka mas familiar po tayo sa case dito sa next. Ito, familiar po ba tayo? Saang city po ito nangyari? Sa Manila. Anong year? Ayan, so think 2004. Or familiar po ba tayo sa case na to? So ito, sa Divisoria, nag-lean or nag-build yung building. So bakit siya nag-build? Yung sabi ng owner, na dahil daw to sa mga diggings sa paligid ng building na to. Pero, may investigation na nangyari na yung building kasi na to was designed for residential use. Pero, Divisoria area, may demand dito yung sa storage, sa warehouse. So this was converted into a commercial. Ano bang effect nun sa building? So it was designed for residential use. Kung gagawin siyang bigla-biglang commercial, dahil na for storage purposes, ibig sabihin, yung mga loads na na-experience ng building, mas mabigat compared sa kung nag-stay siya for residential use. And factor lang dito yung mga materials na ginamit, particularly dun sa foundation. So, ayan. So, kaya ganyan yung mangyari. Ito last, recent case lang to. Siguro naman familiar na kayo dito. Ito, saan naman po nangyari? Sa NCR ba to? Hindi, sa Pampanga, sa Angeles City. So ito, na ginig naman natin sa balita, yung nag-collapse na building. And ito, it's more on may violation daw sa labor standards and saka sa occupational safety and health standards. Hindi ko lang sure kung tapos na yung investigation dito, think ongoing pa. Pero ayun, basically, may mga hindi nasunod sa standards. Kaya, nangyari ito. Ayan. So, for this presentation, ito po yung dadaanan natin. First, bibigyan namin kayo ng overview sa ilan sa mga bagong policies of the department concerning real estate development regulation. Next, we also give you an idea sa role ng department po namin on real estate development regulation. I-discuss din po namin yung sa alteration of plans involving subdivisions and condominiums. So may mga konting update lang din sa policy on this, pati yung sa real estate monitoring na ginagawa ng department namin. So first, dun sa mga bagong department policies, actually marami, pero in the interest of time, let's just focus on this 5. First is yung Department Circular 2026-6. So, noong 2024, actually nagkaroon na po ng circular, itong DC 2024-005. And ayan po yung full name niya, para basically, codification of requirements, nilista dyan yung mga requirements na hahanapin sa application for development permit, for certificate of registration, for license to sell, and for certificate of completion, and others. Ayan, so meron na pong circular last 2024. So itong DC 2026-6, may mga in-update lang siyang certain requirements on certain applications. So yung ilan po sa mga update, isa-isahin po natin. First, so ito, kasama po dito yung requirements for approval for development permit. Before, yung nasa left, ito yung require zoning certificate, initial bill concern, LGU. And sa case naman ng NCR, lahat naman tayo may CNUP na, tama po ba? So, some needs updating lang siguro, pero meron na naman yung lahat, technically. Ayan, pero yung update dito sa zoning certificate, so dito sa circular na nilabas this year, the zoning certificate issued must certify that the land use is either residential or commercial. So this is particularly kapag yung real estate development natin is subdivision or condominium. And also lang din na itong circular is applied nationwide. Ayan. So, ito naman, hindi wala naman tayong problema kasi wala naman tayong agricultural zone sa NCR as far as we know. And second, ito hindi ko lang sure kung sinasama natin sa ating zoning certificate, pero as per the circular, kailangan sinasabi din mo doon na the parcel of land or the property is buildable and not covered by any restrictions. So in the case the land for development is covered by restrictions, kailangan mag-submit ng clearance certification yung applicant ng development permit from the concerned agency or concerned office. Ayan. So ito yung isa sa mga updates. Second, so dun sa section 5, part 3, before, actually itong in-enhance lang naman, yung sa plans, ng part, mas maintain na kailangan architectural plans, signed pillars, licensed architect. Doon naman sa third, yung sa traffic impact assessment, before, yan yung nakalagay, generic. Basta subdivision project, kailangan ng traffic impact assessment. Dito sa bagong circular, specific na siya. Traffic impact assessment is required for subdivision projects 30 hectares and above. Ayan. So yan yung nakalagay sa circular concerning yung development permit for subdivisions, cemeteries, and memorial parks, which is issued natin sa LGU. Tama po ba? Ayan, tayo, sa LGU po, yung issue ng TP for subdivisions. Next naman po, yung sa portion for certificate of registration and license to sell concerning subdivisions, cemeteries, and memorial parks. Ito, may mga update lang din sa ibang provisions. Kung i-check po natin yung PE 957 and PE 220, yung development permit na i-issue natin is only valid for 3 years. So, kailangan, within the span of 3 years, magsimula na yung physical development dun sa property. Otherwise, mag-a-applicate yung applicant. So, ito, mas nag-enforce lang po yung provision from PD 957. And, ayan. So, kapag may na-issue lang po tayong development permit, the applicant must secure a certificate of registration from the concerned regional office of issue within 3 years from the issuance of it. Ayan. So, siguro, kapag mag-issue po tayo ng BP, baka pwede natin isama as one of the conditions na they must apply for certificate of registration with issue within 3 years from the date of issuance. Second, ayan, so this is again CMLS application for subdivisions. So aside from the development permit, mas in-emphasize po dito na yung isasabit ng applicant sa concerned divisional office is yung one set of complete documentary requirements submitted to and approved by the LGU. So this includes yung bill of materials, yung bill of quantities, architectural specifications na signed and sealed by licensed civil engineer or architect. And ito siguro clarify ko na lang din, sa BP ng subdivisions, do we approve yung bill of materials or bill of quantities na sinasabit ng applicant? Ina-approve po ba natin yung sa LGU? Or parang ano lang siya, part lang ba siya ng submission? Ina-approve po ba natin or hindi? Hindi ganun yung case natin. Sino po yung nag-a-approve ng bill of quantities sa DP application? Sino po yung hindi nag-a-approve ng mga bill of quantities, specifications, bill of materials? Sino yung hindi nag-a-approve? So ano nung ginagawa natin? Pero from what I understand, part lang siya ng ating documents. So we don't approve talaga. Tama po ba? Ayan. Pero ito po yung nakalagay sa department circular. Yan, and ito, hinagdan din po to for purposes of accountability and data sharing. The concerned district RO should forward the same documents to other relevant government agencies if kailangan po ng agency na yan. So para lang uniform yung documents na tinitingnan na ina-evaluate natin from the applicant. Third, ito, kung nag-case sa NCR, hindi naman namin na-encounter ito, yung mga reclassification of properties from agricultural to non-agricultural or to residential use. And itong last, yung verified survey plans, part talaga siya ng requirements for CRLS, license to sell. Ito, mas in-emphasize lang na dapat meron siyang kasamang summary of saleable and non-saleable areas. So, para lang din po klaro and consistent sa plan. Kung yung mga saleable and non-saleable. Ayan, so, tulad nga po ng sabi kanina, yung malilingimang issue development permit natin is just 3 years. So, ayun, isa sa mga request namin, maybe we can include this sa conditions when we release development permit sa mga future projects. Ayan, so kung i-check po natin itong department circular na to, actually marami siyang pages. Pero yun po yung ilan sa mga amendments na hindi ay concern natin sa LGUs. Pero if you check, meron din po itong provision updating certain requirements for compliance dun sa Balanced Housing Development Program, kung sa alteration and or rectification of plans, which will be elaborated later and sa certificate of completion. Ayan, so that is DC 2026-6. Ito naman po, naanan natin itong DOJ Opinion Number 4, Series of 2026. Kung familiar kayo sa Balanced Housing Development Program, familiar ko ba tayo? Pero basically, kapag nagawa ka ng subdivision, residential subdivision or residential condominium, required ka na mag-develop ng socialist housing. So yun yung nakalagay sa RA 7279, na inamend RA 2084. So yun, nagawa ka ng subdivision or condominium, kailangan mong gumawa ng socialized housing. So may certain computation yun, and marami tayong modes of compliance. Kasi hindi naman lahat kayang gumawa ng separate socialized housing project. So there are other modes. Yung isa sa mga modes is yung tinatawag nating incentivized compliance. So to comply with the balanced housing, instead na gumawa ka ng separate socialized housing project, under incentivized, ang mangyayari is gagawa ka na lang ng escrow account sa isang bangko, magde-deposit ka ng certain amount, so may formula din po yun, may certain combination. Magde-deposit ka ng certain amount doon sa escrow account sa bangko, and yun na yung magiging compliance mo for socialized housing. Pwede ka lang mabigyan ng extent to sell. So yun yung simplified version. Ayan, so dito sa DOJ opinion, sinasabi lang naman dito na kasi yung nilalagay mong pera sa bangko, it is non-recoverable. So parang bigay mo na siya sa government. Yun yung gagamitin ng government para gumawa ng socialized housing. And since non-recoverable ngayon, yung computation doon is lower. Yung requirement kasi sa batas, kapag condominium projects, 5% no project cost. So kung maging escrow ka, yung i-deposit mo is before, not the full 5%. Yung 25% ng 5%. So for example, yung project natin, yung costing doon is 100 million. Yung requirement mo for socialized housing is 5% ng project cost. Ano ba yung 5% ng 100 million? 5% ng 100 million is 5 billion. So dapat 5 billion yung equivalent na gagawin mong socialized housing. Pero wala kang oras, hindi mo kayang gumawa ng socialized housing kasi wala kang lupa. Yung pinili mo yung escrow. Kung mag-escrow ka before, yung in-deposit mo is yung 25% ng 5%. Yung 5% ng project cost natin is 5 million. Yung in-deposit natin sa escrow, 25% ng 5 million. Ano ba yung 25% ng 5 million? It's 1.25 million. So yun yung in-deposit natin sa bangko. So once na-deposit na yun, parang consideration doon is actually partially compliant na. Pwede ka na mabigyan ng sense. So yun yung ginagawa before. Yun yung mga naka-reflect sa policies before. Now, dumating itong si DOJ opinion, ang sinasabi lang naman dito is itong second paragraph. This opinion states that until Congress amends RA 7279, the department cannot, through an issuance, modify the prescribed percentage of participation or broaden the allocation of compliance funds. Ang sinasabi lang dito, hindi pwede yung 25% na 5%. Kasi yung nakalagay sa batas is 5% for condo, 15% for subdivision. So dapat, yung i-deposit mo, kung mag-escrow ka is yung full 5%. Yung 5 million, 200 million yung project cost natin. So yun lang yung sinasabi dito. Ayan, so medyo marami lang numbers sa part na to. Pero yun, full 5% na yung compliance natin sa balanced housing for condominium projects. Ayan, so yan po yung sinasabi sa DOJ opinion. So full 5% na yung susundan natin. Next policy, we have yung Department Circular 2026-A. So ito naman po, nakalagay dito yung IRR for the Balanced Housing Development Program. So ito, actually may mga mode of compliance na tayo. So again, kapag gagawa ka ng subdivision or condo, kailangan mong gumawa ng socialized housing. To comply with that, as per this PC, ito yung mga modes of compliance natin. One way is, gagawa ka ng socialized housing in a new settlement, meaning separate dun sa ating main project. Second is, yun nga, yung true escrow account. So yung ida-deposit natin, either 5% or 15% ng project cost. Third is with the production of socialized housing within the main project. So ito, siguro mas bagay siya sa subdivision, meaning, kunyari, gagawa ka ng subdivision. Yung isang part, feeding 957, pwede kong allocate yung portion nun na yung isang portion naman ng project mo is for socialized housing. Tapos, yun na yung compliance mo. So, yun yung within the big project. Nasa isang project, yung socialized housing and yung mga non-socialized housing. Yeah, so yung socialized housing, ilan yung settlement, and other manners of compliance. First of all, yung RA 10. Ayan, so ito mas nag-reinforce lang yung ating mga modes of compliance sa Balanced Housing Development Program. And in-introduce din dito yung conditional license to sell. So, currently sa department, meron tayong regular license to sell, meron tayong temporary license to sell, and now, meron na tayong conditional license to sell. Pero ito, ano naman to? Mas concern naman to ng mga developers, ng mga applicants. And ayun nga po, kung sa escrow compliance, nililiitagin lang din na 5% or 15% na yung kailangan i-deposit. Hindi na 25% ng 5% or 25% ng 15%. And may mga binanggit din dito about policies sa Certificate of Completion. Dito naman, basically, kailangan kaunang matapos yung compliance sa socialized housing project kesa doon sa main project. Ayan. So, for example, gagawa ka ng subdivision, matatapos siya with 2030. Yung compliance mo is gagawa ka ng separate socialized housing project sa Visayas. So, kailangan, yung gagawin ng socialized housing project na yun, matatapos siya earlier than 2030. Una doon sa main project mo. Ayan. Another policy is itong Department Circular 2026-9. So ito yung IRR to govern Section 20 of PD 957. So ito, this is about sa additional period of time to complete the development. Ayan. So for example, yung kanina, gagawa ka ng subdivision, yung sa ginawa kong work program, patatapos siya by 2030. Kaso, tumataas ulit yung COVID cases. So, assuming na wag naman sana, nagkaroon ng mga lockdowns ulit, may delay. Nagkaroon ng delay doon sa paggawa ko ng project na hindi ko kasalanan. Kasi nga, pandemic. So, sa mga ganong cases, actually, other cases pa, the developer can apply for an additional period of time to complete the development. Before this policy, yung period of extension, it depends sa kung yung cost of delay, sa kung yung capacity ng applicant na tapusin yung project. So the extension can be 2 years, 3 years, 1.5 years, depende. Pero dahil dito sa department circular na to, yung pwede na lang i-grant the extension is maximum of 1 year. Ayan. So ito yung latest circular. And ito rin, in-emphasize na yung isa sa mga requirements ay yung approval ng majority of buyers. And conformity ng HOA of subdivision or conform with conform. Ayan, so ito ang last na po sa mga policies. Pero ito, we have yung MC, yung random circular numbers 2025-14, meron pang 2025-14A, may 2026-3, may 2026-10, and 2026-12. So ito na mga policies na to, ito yung procedures dun sa applications. So ito, summarize ko na lang po yung nangyari. Basically, before, nagkaroon ng centralization of regulatory applications, meaning lahat ng applications for development permit, for license to sell, for additional period of time, for certificate of completion, lahat ng regulatory applications ay centralized. So, dinadala sa central office, then they will recommend for approval before ibabasa namin ng issue. So, nagkaroon po ng ganong case, then nagkaroon na itong last two, 2026-10 and -12, eventually nagkaroon ng decentralization. Pero, nakalista po dito yung mga updated procedures, process flow, and considerations sa ating mga regulatory applications. Ayan, so ito, if may time po kayo, we can check this para ma-update din po tayo sa process flows when it comes to regulatory applications. Ayan, so yun yung ilan sa mga bagong policies ng department concerning yung sa real estate development regulation. Now, doon naman sa rule ng department, doon sa HRRT, ito, i-reiterate ko lang po, if we check yung implementing rules and regulations ng Republic Act 11201 o yung ating Issue Act, nakalagay po dito na yung functions ng HRRT before ay non-transfer kay issue, particularly yung regulatory functions over subdivisions, condominiums, and other real estate developments. Kasama rin po dito yung imposition of fines and imposition of administrative sanctions for violations. Isa din sa mga major roles ng department is sa yung regulation and licensing of real estate projects. So again, sa LGU level, what we check kapag may mga real estate developments, kasi sa inyo po yung first step, so chine-check po natin yung local zoning compliance. Kung compliant pa siya sa ating zoning ordinance, sa zoning map. Before, kapag compliant siya sa local zoning, anong in-issue po natin? In-issue natin is locational clearance. Yeah, and meron din po tayong building permit sa OPO. So what we check is yung engineering plans, they incorporated na din yung sa drainage, and yung local traffic impact. Sa amin naman po sa issue, what we mainly check is yung compliance ng real estate project sa PD 957 or PD 220 kung residential yung project. We also check yung compliance just sa balanced housing development program, and kasama din po sa amin yung regulation of real estate practitioners. Ayan, so kami po yung parang after sa LGU. Dito din po, we have yung standard setting and quality compliance. So, we field check yung sa first policy kanina, yung Department Circular 2026-6. Nakalagay po doon na nag-issue si LGU ng development permit. Kasi subdivision ng project. Yung applicant, mag-a-apply na sa issue ng Certificate of Registration sa Canais Cell. So, as per yung policy kanina, kasama sa pag-review namin yung issued development permit. So, consistent ba siya dun sa mga relevant standards, particularly yung PD 957 or PD 220. So, ito ang mas ma-elaborate later on. Pero ngayon, part ng review namin is yung pag-check ng ating issued development permit. Enter protection of property values. So, for this, sa department, in the HRD, meron naman po ginagawang table monitoring and field monitoring. When we say table monitoring, ito yung pag-review ng mga documents po. Timely ba yung pagpasa ng applicant ng mga dealing papers? And sa field monitoring ko, nasusunod ba yung approved plans yung sa project? Yes, the department study this trend and are there plans to review or strengthen standards on unit size and residential livability. Sino po ba yung mag-deal nito? Hindi, tanong natin. Pero ayun po. Salamat sa tanong na to. And kung sasagutin po natin yung tanong na to, ano po? Yung sa unit size, yung sa livability, meron po tayong ganong trend, pero dun sa socialized housing. Kung mapapansin po natin, yung sa mga, yung brace ceiling po kasi namin every, I think, 3 to 5 years. Noong 2018, yung minimum unit size natin for socialized condominium is 22 square meters. This was retained noong sa isang JMC noong 2023, and itong latest joint circular about it sa socialized condominiums, yung minimum unit size na po natin is 24 square meters. So in terms of nasa socialized housing, ayun po, yung trend doon is unti-unti siyang umahanga. Kasi nga, yung sa pinakonsider din po yung livability. Since family, yung leader yun po, pangat yung trend. Pero, malaking factor din po kasi yung affordability. And of course, kapag pinakita natin yung unit size, kasabay din yung paglalang presyo. So, kailangan lang natin mabalance out kung ano yung pwede natin itagdag sa unit size without affecting yung affordability ng unit. Ayan po, yung sa mga non-socialized units, actually, depende naman po siya dun sa maraming factors. For example, yung napansin namin sa mga condominiums near universities, sa UBEL, kadalasan ito yung mga studio units, mga maliliit units. Kasi nga, yung intended market nito is yung mga students na mag-i-stay lang doon pagpasokan. So, not really intended for families. Ayan. So, hopefully, nasagot ko yung tanong. So, sino po yung nagtanong ito? Sana nasagot ko namin yung tanong. So, for this question, if we'll check po yung ating mga batas sa PD 957, yung development permit actually is the approval of plan. So, it can be approval of subdivision plan or approval of condominium plan. For development permit for subdivision, as established nga po kanina, it's with the LGUs. Pero, development permit for condominiums, the approval of condominium plans, as per PD 957, PD 220, is with the issue. If we'll check po yung Executive Order 71 noong 1992, yung na-devolve function lang po to LGUs is the approval of subdivision plan. So, hindi po nasama yung alteration of subdivision plan and yung approval of condominium plan. Ayun po. So, to summarize, DP partition is for condo, DP ng LGU is for subdivisions. Sa provisional license to sell, ito, kaya lang siya provisional kasi wala pang binigay sa amin na printed and serialized forms si National Building Office. So dahil wala pang serialized form, yung term na ginagamit namin is provisional, pero state yung effectivity nun or effect nun sa regular license to sell. When we say conditional license to sell is nag-issue with conditions. So ito po yung partial, yung kanyang compliance sa balanced housing. And yung compliance niya, both of compliance niya is through escrow. So kapag yung nilagay niya sa escrow is hindi yung full 5% or full 50%, conditional license to sell yung i-issue natin. So another main difference is yung conditional license to sell, yung effectivity lang niya is 30 months. Si provisional, as long, kapag may serialized form na, doon lang siya papalitan. Pero wala naman siyang expired. Then, under require as the treatment plan, actually ito, kapag nag-apply si applicant ng ECC, doon sila i-require na STP. Actually, depende rin po siya sa proposed project. So mostly, itong mga STP, nire-require siya kapag high density, kapag malaki talaga yung project. At saka sa mga areas na wala pang sewer systems. So, ang nag-require nito, mostly I see DNR through EMP sa pag-apply natin. Isa yan sa mga conditions kapag nagbigay po sila ng which we will enforce naman.